Like,
You know, it's funny. With my support group, I had a family that would drive to Orlando to come to my support group because she said she couldn't find many things, and she ended up coming to Orlando for a lot of her kids' therapy,
wow.
which I was like, and
Yeah.
she was from Jacksonville. Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell. It was awful. I was like, what are you? It was like they had no clue what they were doing. So
Right.
I think that helped my daughter early on. It certainly helped her early on. And so she was in kindergarten, first and second grade. She was in the set aside, special needs classes, but she was
Mm-hmm.
on the general curriculum. So she was on the general curriculum, and then third grade, I believe that's right when, if I remember correctly, that's right when Common Core came in,
Yes.
and I mean, she just did not do well, and the teacher that she had at the time was awful.
Wow.
And so I'm one of those parents. So I've always been like this. So this ain't new. Like outspoken, they used to say, "Oh, Miss King, this meeting is not
Right,
going to
right.
last as this long." Oh no,
Like you're like, this
this
is
meeting
not
is
just
going
for
to last
TV.
as
This
long
is
as I
I've
stay.
always been like
Yeah.
yeah.
They were trying to tell me that the meeting wasn't going to last as long as I needed it to, for her IEP meetings. And at this point, there was just so many things wrong. I was like, no, we need a district meeting because this is,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like escalating, and they were trying to tell me like, basically what I felt like was that she was just a number to them. They were not interested in her getting the education that I knew, obviously, that she deserves and every child deserves, but
Right.
what something that was going to be beneficial for her. I felt like they just wanted to stick her in a corner and have her put balls in a basket all day. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this kid can read, write, do math. She's competent. Like she can do this
Right.
stuff. And that third grade teacher, one day we were having a conference, and she was just so disconnected. And like people that work in special needs, teachers, therapists, there's a certain spirit that most of these people come with.
Yes.
It's very
Yes.
loving and caring.
Yeah.
She
They
didn't
want
have
to
any
be
of that.
there. Right.
Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, do you have kids? Like, I mean, it was just that bad that she was so I had
Yeah.
never experienced that
Disconnected.
before. Yeah, it was awful. I was like, "Oh, no,
Mm-mm.
she's out of here." So, fortunately, we live in Florida where there is school choice, so I was able to
Yes.
move her to a private. Yes, I am so grateful because looking at into her eyes every day, because she used to love school, she was loving school, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just tanked,
Yeah.
and it was like it wasn't there anymore. And so
Right.
watching her thrive in the school on day one, Donique, day one, my kid was nonverbal in school. She spoke on the first day in this private school.
What?
Yes, she
Wow.
a whisper, but she spoke.
You know, it's funny you said that because my son is, he's considered nonverbal,
Mhm.
and he's always had a device. But at the private school that he's in, he is talking up a storm. And he was recently in a winter concert where he was singing, and I was in tears because I'm
I
like,
know.
he doesn't talk. He doesn't. And now he won't shut up. He is like talking, and they understand him. And so I'm just like, I don't know what happened or what that school did. And I had a great experience in the public school system, but he was not
Yeah.
trying to talk in public school. But with
I have
this
a
school,
theory.
he's very verbal.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
is
exciting.
amazing. That is so amazing. I have a little theory. I think that because in public school, you can't really hug children. You can't, it's
Right.
like strict rules. My daughter, she's a hugger. She's a
Mine
hugger.
too.
She likes it. I think she felt comfortable because they were
Mm-hmm.
like, when she came in, they wrapped their arms around her like, "Oh, come on, let's go to class." And they
Yeah.
were just a bit
More personal.
more
Yeah.
personal. Yes, thank you. That's
Mm-hmm.
the right word.
Yes.
So that's my theory. I think she just felt honestly just a bit
She
more
felt
comfortable.
comfortable.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah, but
that's important, really important.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it is so I love hearing, these success stories, especially with our special needs kids, because I feel like, from birth, they're like poked and prodded on and like, trekked off to the doctor every week or whatever,
Right.
it's just a lot. And
Yes.
them not getting a good education when they absolutely deserve, like,
Deserve it.
they do.
Hmm.
Some of our special needs children they might not get like some things, like maybe they don't get like 2 plus 2. Maybe they don't understand that stuff. But
Hmm.
sometimes when you see like sometimes like the more advanced stuff that clicks with them, you're like, it's
Yes.
amazing. Like it's fascinating how, they are smart and beautiful in their own ways.
Yes.
And it just takes a great learning environment to bring that out. So what are some of the things that you've experienced, with public and private that, has really helped for your son to, other than being verbal now, like, do you see any differences in his like education or things that he's more interested in or things that have been brought out?
Yes, I do. Now the verbal thing is a
Oh, yes,
huge deal. But
absolutely.
another thing, his handwriting.
Mm,
He in public school, and I'm just thinking what a difference a year made. And I don't know why, but you could not understand it. It was just all over the place. He couldn't write on the lines. His
mm,
handwriting is better than some adults I've seen. His handwriting is definitely better than mine. I noticed that, and also it is interesting because as a public school teacher, I'm used to fast pace. If they don't get it, they move on. And
mm,
so at first I had trouble with the rigor in
mhm.
private school because again, I'm used to they go, like they move
Yeah,
to one chapter, they go to the next. And I was like,
yeah.
why is this taking so long? And they're like, Miss, we want to make sure that he has the foundation
Mm.
because his learning is kind of everywhere. Like, how does he know synonyms, but he doesn't know this? How does he know
Oh,
this? Because what was happening in public school, he just had all he would learn something, but not completely, and then they would move on to something else. He didn't master it, move on to
gotcha.
something else, he didn't master. So he did have a taste of all of that, but he didn't
Mm,
master anything. And so
gotcha.
with this school, I noticed that he's mastering things that I didn't know he didn't master.
Right.
He can write in essays now and paragraphs, and he didn't do that before. It was they
Wow.
had to kind of like help him every step of the way. But with this school, he's comprehending what he's reading, and he's able
Yeah.
to answer questions because they're like, no, we're not moving on. And I used to get frustrated because again, I'm thinking public school teacher, you
Right.
move on,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. We he missed two, so we're going to make sure that he gets this, that we understand what he understands why he missed this before we
Yep.
move on to the next. And so that makes me happy that they are not just trying to take my money because I'm paying, but
Yeah.
they are serious about him learning and that they
Yeah.
care that they don't want any gaps in his learning, which I really appreciate that. Versus
Yeah.
public school, who cares about gaps? They're moving on. And so I
Yeah.
really, really do appreciate that about private school.
Yeah, that is so true. My oldest daughter, I just pulled her out. She's in a homeschool co-op now, which I am so grateful
Oh,
for. Yeah.
that's
So
great.
I've mass exited completely now.
Wow.
I'm out. But
You're done. That's good.
yeah, it was awful. We'll
What do
have
you call it? Exit out. What do you,
mass exodus.
mass exodus? Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
Yeah.
it.
So she went her first day, her teacher had her doing, kind of like an assessment just to see like where she was at.
Hmm.
And I knew she had gone and they were working on math. And I knew she had learned these things because I remember her learning them, but she just, she couldn't really remember. And so her teacher was like, well, you have to master this before we can move you on. There's the only grade you can get here is an A. And she was like,
Hmm.
she's like, what do you she's like, no B's, no, no. She's like, no, you either know it or you don't. And I was like,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love that. I mean,
Right.
why not? Why
Yes.
not? If you don't know it, why do you shouldn't really go on to the next thing until you get this
Hmm.
foundation, especially in math. It's a
Yes.
very,
Right. Right.
foundational thing. You have to know this before you know that. And
Hmm.
so, her eyes were like huge. She's like, oh my God, what does that mean? But she's picking it up. She's picking
That's
it up.
great.
So it's just, I believe
Right.
it's
And it doesn't
coming
matter how long it takes her, they'll make sure she gets it. I love it. I love
exactly.
it.